History is a tapestry woven from countless threads, each event leading to the world we inhabit today. Join me as we journey through 5 extraordinary moments where history hung in the balance. In the trenches of World War I, a young Adolf Hitler narrowly escaped death multiple times. Imagine a stray bullet finding its mark, or a grenade detonating closer. Without Hitler, would Europe have descended into the abyss of genocide? The echoes of such a shift in history are profound. Some historians argue that German resentment from the Treaty of Versailles would have led to another conflict, even without Hitler. The notion of a world untouched by the Holocaust is a stark reminder of the fragility of peace. Fidel Castro, the revolutionary who turned Cuba into a socialist stronghold, defied death countless times. The CIA's assassination attempts, from exploding cigars to poisoned diving suits, all failed. Had any succeeded, the Cold War might have played out differently in the Caribbean. Without Castro, would Cuba have embraced democracy or fallen to another form of authoritarianism? His survival inspired revolutionary movements across Latin America. The world today bears the mark of his improbable survival. In the 13th century, the Mongol Empire, under the leadership of Kublai Khan, set its sights on Japan, aiming to expand its already vast territory. Kublai Khan launched 2 massive invasions in 1274 and 1281, each with a formidable fleet and army. However, both attempts were thwarted by ferocious typhoons, which the Japanese later dubbed kamikaze, or divine wind. These powerful storms, which seemed to arrive at the most opportune moments, proved to be Japan's unlikely savior, preventing the Mongol forces from establishing a foothold on the islands. Had the winds not intervened, Japanese history, culture, and language could have been irrevocably altered. The Mongol Empire's influence might have reshaped the very fabric of Japanese society. The samurai, who are now iconic symbols of Japanese heritage, might never have risen to prominence. Their code of honor and martial prowess could have been overshadowed by Mongol military practices. Instead of the distinctive art, architecture, and traditions that define Japan today, we might have seen a very different cultural landscape, heavily influenced by Mongol customs and aesthetics. Some scholars believe that Japanese culture's resilience would have absorbed and adapted to outside influences, creating a unique blend of Japanese and Mongol elements. The question remains, how much of Japan today is a result of those 2 fateful storms? The legacy of the kamikaze continues to be a topic of fascination and speculation among historians and cultural scholars. The 1960 US presidential election between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon was one of the closest in history. The nation was on the edge of its seat as the votes were counted, with both candidates neck and neck throughout the night. It was a battle of charisma versus experience, youth versus seasoned political acumen. A shift of a few thousand votes could have tipped the scales in Nixon's favor. The margin was razor thin, and every vote truly counted. This election highlighted the power of the individual voter and the importance of every single ballot cast. Imagine Nixon, not Kennedy, facing the escalating Cold War tensions. The world was a tinderbox, and the president's decisions could mean the difference between peace and nuclear war. Nixon's approach to foreign policy might have been more aggressive, potentially altering the course of history. Would he have shown the same restraint during the Cuban Missile Crisis? Kennedy's calm and calculated response averted a potential catastrophe. Nixon's temperament and strategies were different, and his decisions could have led to a very different outcome. A Nixon presidency could have meant a different trajectory for American society. The social fabric of the 1960s was already under strain, and Nixon's policies might have intensified the divisions. His stance on civil rights was less progressive compared to Kennedy's. Would the Civil Rights Act have passed without Kennedy's advocacy? Kennedy's support was crucial in pushing the legislation forward. Nixon's administration might not have prioritized it, delaying or even preventing its passage. Would the space race have been pursued with the same zeal? Kennedy's vision and commitment to landing a man on the moon inspired a generation. Nixon's priorities might have shifted resources away from NASA, altering the timeline of space exploration. The ripple effects of Kennedy's narrow victory continue to reverberate today. His presidency left an indelible mark on American history, shaping the nation's trajectory in countless ways. The what-ifs of a Nixon presidency remain a fascinating topic of historical speculation. The Cuban Missile Crisis in October 1962 remains the closest humanity has come to nuclear war. For 13 intense days, the world stood on the edge of an abyss, with the United States and the Soviet Union locked in a high-stakes standoff. The tension was palpable and the fear of global annihilation was real. The world held its breath as the US and the Soviet Union teetered on the brink of annihilation. Families gathered around their televisions, watching the news with bated breath, unsure if they would see another day. Governments scrambled to prepare for the worst, with military forces on high alert. One miscalculation could have led to atomic fire. The stakes were unimaginably high and the margin for error was razor-thin. Every decision, every move was fraught with peril. What if the Soviet Union had collapsed earlier? The geopolitical landscape would have been drastically different. The balance of power might have shifted, potentially altering the course of history. Could the Cold War have been averted? The ideological battle between capitalism and communism might have taken a different path. Perhaps diplomacy and mutual understanding could have prevailed over conflict and suspicion. A different leader in the Kremlin might have diffused the crisis before it reached a fever pitch. Leadership plays a crucial role in shaping the course of events, and a more conciliatory approach could have eased tensions. The Cuban Missile Crisis serves as a reminder of the fragility of peace and the importance of dialogue. It underscores the need for constant vigilance and the pursuit of diplomatic solutions to prevent such a catastrophe from ever happening again. History is not just the story of what happened, it's also the story of what almost happened. Each near miss reminds us that a single turn of fate can reshape continents and generations. Understanding these moments gives us a deeper appreciation for the balance that holds our world together. The individuals, the bullets that missed, the storms that altered destinies, they remind us that history is far from preordained. Let us learn from these echoes and strive to create a future where peace and understanding hold strong against uncertainty.